And the podcast will begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause. Clifford Banagale. Did I get the name right?
Yeah, that was good.
Huh? I got it right.
Salamat.
But you can call him both.
Cliff or Clifford, or both.
Di ba?
Pwede.
Cliff, do I call you Cliff or Clifford? You can call me both. Sure. You got it both. Okay na. How are you?
I'm good. It's actually cool down here in LA. It was so freaking hot.
Wait.
last week.
Okay. You're local in LA,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was born in the Philippines, but I grew up here.
Let me guess. 1981.
Opo. Usually I don't say my I say my age range.
Okay, let's go age range. Okay, delete do sa sa post-production. Ano yan eh? ISO? Yeah, kasi naka 24 frames tayo. We're good. So delete tong part na to. Okay, game. So, you were born in the Philippines. Tapos, let's go back to the Philippines. Since dinala mo na ron, I wanna know, what was your journey like?
I was really young.
Baka yung part na pwede mo lang sabihin how young, di ba?
So, it was my brother and my sister, and I was there. I think until like I was 7 or 8 years old before I came here.
Where in the Philippines?
Sa Manila.
Okay.
Sa San Andres.
San Andres. Okay, wait. San Andres. Sa Manila talaga yun.
Yeah.
Iniisip ko baka Quezon City or iniisip ko sa may mga ermita, San Andres. Okay.
San Andres.
Okay,
San Andres, Bukid.
Okay. Tapos, why did you migrate to the States?
My mom. my mom and my aunt and my uncles came here first. And then my dad followed us after that.
So, your mom, your aunt, tapos kayo nang magkakapatid, and then your dad, nag-enjoy muna sa Pilipinas, sa Manila.
Well, he was a seaman.
Oh, matagal na pala nag-enjoy.
Yeah. He was traveling more than all of us.
Okay. So, and then when the ship came back to, when natapos yung contract niya, he went home to Manila and then sumunod na dito sa States.
Yeah.
Now, when you came to the States, was it dito na mismo sa LA?
Sa West Covina.
So, Philippines.
Basically. I felt so home.
Parang, you know what, my daughter is 5 years old.
Wow.
So she's always wanted to ride the plane. So eto na ngayon. Imagine mo to. So sabi niya, Mom, Dad, are we going to Canada? Let's go to Canada. Okay, we'll go to Canada. So sumakay kami ng kotse papunta sa airport.
Yeah.
Airport, sumakay kami ng aeroplano. 5-hour flight to 3-hour flight ba to Vancouver or something like that. Vancouver lang. Pagdating namin sa Vancouver, paglabas namin ng aeroplano, ang sama ng tingin ng anak ko sa akin. Sabi sa akin, we're back! Sabi ko, we're not back. We're in Canada. This looks like where we came from.
Was there a Jollibee?
Wala. Oh. Pero alam mo, ang hirap i-explain sa kanya, all of a sudden, nakasimangot na.
No.
Tapos hindi kami matutulog sa hotel, matutulog kami sa bahay ng friend namin.
Oh, then yeah, she felt at home.
Sabi niya, Dad, you guys are joking. Hindi. 5 years old to na bata. So anyway, West Covina. Anong feeling sa Philippines ba? Did you have an inkling na magiging showbiz personality ka?
Yeah.
Philippines pa lang.
Yeah, Philippines. I remember I was watching E.T. Because we used to watch in the Philippines. There was a lot of the Jackson 5 show
Yeah.
would come on, and then a lot of old American movies. And when E.T. came out, that was like the biggest film.
Yes.
Right. So
I wasn't born yet. Take note ng ink na labas. Joke. Joke. I mean,
you look great.
I'm trying to relate. Joke lang. Okay. Oo, ang galing ng E.T. no? Elliot.
Yeah. So I knew I wanted to be that little white kid.
Which one? Dalawa yun eh.
No, the only,
Elliot.
Yeah, Elliot.
Okay, hindi yung kuya, hindi si
Hindi,
Michael.
no, he's
oh
too
my God,
old.
kilala ko lahat ng pangalan. Gertrude, Michael, and Elliot.
I don't even remember that.
Baka I watched it 3 times.
Oh, okay. Oh, you have kids kasi, di ba?
Yeah. Okay, so you wanted to be Elliot.
Yeah.
Tapos?
And, in the Philippines, you're either a singer or an actor.
Diba?
Or a doctor or a nurse.
Yes. Oh my God.
You know? So, same thing translated here.
So maliit ka pa lang, may dream. Did you do any projects in the Philippines?
Wala. No. My parents really wanted me to be like a doctor or a nurse.
Wow.
Or a lawyer.
Wow. So would you say, Mommy, I want to be artista?
Hindi.
No?
No. Actually,
So, tinago mo lang sa sarili mo yun?
Yeah. I was smart. Smarter than a lot of...
Kundi hindi ka dinala sa Amerika.
Exactly. They're like, no, you're staying here. Otherwise, we know you're not going to go to school. But I was really smart. And I was really smart in school.
Okay.
So I knew that if I was to pursue that, even at a younger age, I know, I was so...
But at least you were focused.
I was, yeah.
Diba?
Yeah.
Yun ang maganda eh. Because and this is very inspiring. Nakakatuwa. Ang audience natin, yun ang hinahanap nila sa sa mga guests. Like, someone they can relate to. And I'm pretty sure there's someone watching there really, I want to hear Clifford's story. Okay. So you did what your parents wanted you to do, which was go to school.
A lot of school.
Give me good grades.
A lot of grades.
Ngayon, mga plays sa school, sasalihan mo yun.
I did. I didn't. So I used to sing at church with my grandma, and she taught me opera.
Oh, wow.
In the Philippines, and my dad sang.
Wait,
my
at
aunt
6
sang.
and 7?
Yeah.
Dude, respect.
Super ambitious.
Wow.
So.
But you were 6 and 7, mataas boses mo talaga nun.
Yeah.
Unless bass ang pinapakanta nila sa
Hindi,
barito.
no. I can't even do bass now. And I'm
Okay.
old. And so when I came to America, I didn't really, I was still trying to learn the language, but it was easy to make friends when you're little.
Right.
And the kids are very forgiving and mean at the same time, but they're forgiving because
Yeah.
you're easy to play with.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I think 7th grade where there was a school program where there was an all-boys choir, and it was strictly opera. And so I joined it because I sang opera when I was little. So I was like, okay, cool. I don't want to do art. I want
So,
to do...
opera ka talaga pumunta.
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
And for a little bit of time, I was learning how to paint. But instead, I was like, I'm getting good at this, but I don't want to do this. I want to sing. So I did opera for 2 years. And then when I got to high school, I started to do plays. I was in varsity water sports. I was in
Water polo?
Water polo,
Hirap nun,
swim. I was like tanned all year.
I did water polo in high school. Ang dami ko nainom na tubig.
Yeah.
Diba? Pag nandun ka sa swimming mo, bato!
It's hard. It's hard, but you're super fit.
Yeah.
Right?
Kasi yung core mo eh.
Yeah, everything.
You're just floating. Yung bola, hawak-hawak mo gano'n. And banda ko na sa akin, hindi ba tayo pwede mag-water polo sa 3 feet?
Yeah, you can. Because then you touch the floor and then you're out, right?
You're out. Diba? So anyway, you did that.
I did that. I was never home. I was never home because I was always afraid my mom and dad were going to check up on me and ask me, so what are you doing for college, So I joined everything. I joined like the debate, the math, the mathlete, every kind of club that you can think of I was in, plus the arts.
Okay. I want to ask you about that, no? Extracurricular activity. Nowadays kasi, ang hirap, like parents listening,
Yeah.
nung panahon natin, ang sarap ng extracurricular activity kasi walang video games masyado eh.
Yeah.
Ngayon, every kid is a gamer.
Yeah.
Nawawala na yung mga extracurricular activity which makes you a well-rounded person.
Yeah.
Diba?
It helps you with like
Interaction.
The
Yeah. People skills, right?
Yeah, and it's almost a form of survival as well.
Yes.
Right? Because I feel like when I see kids now, like, they get lost. Who do they talk to without knowing who to talk to or who not to talk to?
So you did debate. You did the water polo or the...
Yeah, and I was in show choir. I was in
Show
theater. I was...
So nagme-memorize ka ng mga script. Nagme-memorize ka ng ng mga pang-rebuttal mo sa debate and you were trying to keep fit.
Yep.
Now, nag-SAT ka ba?
I did.
You did? Nag-apply ka ba sa college?
I did.
You did?
I did. All the colleges outside of California.
Okay.
So I was set on New York, Chicago.
What's your mom's name?
Nympha.
Tita Nympha, I hope you're watching.
Yeah, well, she passed away
I'm
a
sorry.
few years ago.
Well, she's really watching.
But she's definitely watching. But I'm not scared anymore. I'm not scared anymore.
Oh my God. So you did all of that.
Yeah.
Okay. How were you able to do it? High school ka, how were you able to do it?
I was fortunate enough to be self-sufficient.
Explain that.
I started working on a very young age. I think I was like 15 when I started working.
Did they push you to work?
Hindi.
Ikaw lang talaga?
Yeah. Well, because I was, you had to rely on your parents for you're going to prom, you're going to get this, you need a suit, you need to.
Ang hirap mag-explain, di ba?
Yeah.
Trabaho ka na lang.
I was like, you know what? I'm getting my own job. I don't need you. And it was part of like a growth for me to be independent so that when I do move out, I don't have to answer to my parents in order for me to either be happy or rely on money or anything.
Now, are you the middle child?
Hindi, I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest?
Yeah.
Did
Panganay.
Okay, nagkaroon ba ng osmosis to yung dalawa mong kapatid? Did they get your...
No, not until we were older. Then they realized, because I was like the square one, I guess, and they were like the cool ones.
Oh, okay.
So not until we were older, like, okay, I get why you were doing that.
But you were never OCD? Uh-oh.
A little bit.
Okay.
In certain things. Like paying your bills on time, things like that. Cleaning.
Well, that's called responsible and discipline.
Yeah,
diba?
and discipline. Yeah, I learned that.
Pero yung OCD would be, hindi 87.87 yung bill ko.
No.
Hindi, wala
No, I'm
akong
not
ganun.
that guy.
Okay.
That's a whole different guy. I'm thankful that's not me.
So you pay your bills on time. How are your clothes arranged in the house? Baka OCD to, guys.
Hindi. No, I think I just...
Be honest, ha? We have a lot of people watching.
No, I mean, I always folded my clothes, but it didn't have to be like...
Okay. Hindi yan... Sino yung Japanese na magaling... si Maria?
Maria Kondo.
Oo. Yeah, hindi naman ganon.
No, I can't do that.
I tried
It's
that.
too much.
I tried that. I kid you not. I tried it. I made my clothes stand up. And then my wife goes, okay. 2 days.
See, I'd rather have less clothes and not have to make them stand up so I don't have to deal with it. And quarantine was really good because I gave away about 8 bags of clothes and other stuff.
Wow. Good for you.
It was freeing, really.
Goodwill?
Goodwill, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's nice. So anyway, now, sana kasi dinonate mo rito, baka na-eBay pa natin.
Yeah, that's, I was going to go through that, but I was like, you know what? This is too many bags now. I got to get rid of this.
Yeah. At least mabilis, di ba?
Yeah.
Did you get a receipt from Goodwill?
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Blank?
I try to do it every year, every other year, something like that.
Legit yun, guys, ha?
Yeah.
Don't spank us on the hand. Legit yun.
Especially if you're an actor, it's a good way to get
Oh
rid
my
of
God,
things
you
that
kidding?
doesn't fit you anymore.
And to get it back also.
And to get back and get new things that you'll have to give away later.
The actor thing, after high school, I would assume.
Professionally, yes.
Okay, let's talk about that.
So I got accepted to a school in New York.
Okay.
With a scholarship.
Full?
And almost full. I was super nervous during my audition, but they really loved me.
Tapos?
And I just turned 18, and so I was really scared to tell my dad. My mom, not so much. I wasn't scared to tell my mom. But my dad, I was really scared. And I showed him my acceptance. I was like, Dad, I got accepted in New York, and I want to go. He's like, why can't you just go to the school down the street?
What'd you say?
I said, in Mount Sac? I'm not going to Mount Sac.
Ako, may sagot na kagad ako dun.
Ano?
Dad, nagalit ba ako nung naging seaman ka?
Oh. That's a touchy subject. I wasn't gonna push that day, you know.
Okay. Oh, so wait, what's wrong with Mount Sac?
It was like the community college that everyone goes to after high
Oh.
school.
In other words, dati nakita mo ng high school, makikita mo rin ng college.
Yeah, well, I mean, what's the point? I might as well just
Yeah,
go and be a nurse.
that's true.
Not that there's anything wrong with being a nurse.
No.
I have a lot of nurse friends.
Yeah.
That's not what I want to do.
So, young age, before the age of 7, kasi 7 ka umalis ng Pilipinas. Before the age of 7, gusto mo na talaga mag-artista. Tiniis mo ng matagal yon. You weren't able to share that passion or that dream with your parents.
Yeah.
That sucks,
Yeah.
no?
I mean, they always made me sing. They always made me go do karaoke and sing in front of all the people every weekend.
How did it feel not being able to tell them?
I would suppose it would be like frustrating, but I wasn't really frustrated. You know, it was like, for me, it's about timing.
Right.
And for a lot of people who are searching to belong in anything, it's like they want it now, or they want acceptance. They want some form of like
Validation,
Validation.
diba?
I was never that kid.
Kumbaga, you were sure of yourself.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I told myself, actually, when I was young, I watched a lot of Sharon Cuneta when I was young, so I wanted to be one of her backup dancers.
Did it ever come to
Oh
fruition?
no, because I left. I was really
Dito, never? Kahit
Hindi.
nung nag-show siya rito and all that stuff?
No. By then, I was already acting. So when
So you dance.
I danced too, I did everything. Yeah.
Like
I dance,
good,
I sing.
like 1 to 10, how good are you?
I used to be about an 8, 9. Now I'm too tired. I only want to dance if I'm getting paid,
Okay.
or if
Grabe,
it's part
no?
of the job. Yeah.
Actually, si Harris, yung R&B singer na guest namin. Shout out to you, Harris, if you're watching.
Hey,
And you, I guess you probably are the 2 best dancers who've been to
Oh,
Pacos'
really?
place. Yeah. I mean, Martin Rivera was here, but he thinks he can dance. I don't know, Martin.
oh, but we can sing together anytime.
There you go. He'll be back. So maybe I'll call you when he's back.
Sige.
So, okay, so you dance, you sing, you debate, you do water sports.
I was really good in math. I
You were
was
good in math.
very good in science. It was,
Wow, what the heck?
I learned Spanish just because it was easy.
It was easy?
I was an overachiever.
Wow.
Yeah. I had a lot of credits. So by sophomore year, I could have graduated high school,
Wow.
but they wouldn't let me.
Wow. Okay. New York,
Mm-hmm.
what do you do? Go to school and what else? Where do you go to school in New York?
I ended up not going. Yeah.
With that somehow scholarship thingy na,
Yeah. I was so angry at my dad.
oh, he stopped you.
Yeah.
Oh my God. But you didn't go to Mount Sac, no?
No. I took a break from school for a while.
How was your relationship with your dad after that day?
Well, my dad, because I grew up with him being a seaman, I barely knew him. So
Right.
I would see him maybe 3 months out of the year at
Yeah,
most,
yeah.
together, like
Yes,
the span of
yes.
year, right? And so he was mostly a stranger to me.
Right.
And then it would feel good that he was there, and then all of a sudden he would be gone. So now I'm an adult, and he's telling me I can't go to this school. I'm like,
Seriously?
why?
Exactly.
Why now?
Yun na
You
nga,
know?
di ba?
I was so pissed.
Of course.
Did I say that?
Yeah.
Okay. So, but now.
Is that all you want to say?
Well, yeah, I did.
Okay.
And
Or you can say anything. Okay.
Salamat. Sorry if I don't want to disrespect anyone.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I didn't go to school for a while.
Wow.
And so what I did instead, I booked other shows by myself.
No manager.
No manager. I did
Hustler.
I did a lot of theater, dinner theater. I was a backup dancer for a boy band for a hot minute.
What boy band? Was
They were
it?
called Remix. Actually, there was one Filipino that was a lead in that, but they disbanded.
Okay. Take note, people. Yung iba kasi, like you mentioned kanina, you had the patience.
Mm-hmm.
Timing is everything. There are people who are impatient. Gusto nila lead role or nothing.
Yeah.
Right? you were really nibbling at your dream.
Yeah.
Diba? Kumbaga, okay, may time ako. I have time. Tama ba? Am I getting the right vibe na?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, because even growing up, I would see a lot of people in TV and in the news, they don't like what they're doing. Or
Right.
all of a sudden it's too much too soon.
Right.
Or they don't work anymore after they become big. Or, and then something bad happens to them. And especially a lot of child stars. And I knew I didn't want to be that, but I didn't understand that when I was little.
Right.
So as an adult, I definitely knew I wasn't going to be that. And I was pretty grounded.
So never went to New York. Did you talk to your dad?
I did, but it was kind of like a rocky relationship.
Like one word lang? Kumain ka na ba? Oo.
Yeah, but I also didn't want to push it.
Of course.
Like, hey, Dad. But my parents knew that I was also doing other things. I was dancing. I was dancing a lot. And that's how I became really, really good at dance. Hip hop mostly. And then I did some ballet and jazz stuff, but I did predominantly a lot of my dance work as a backup dancer for like hip hop.
Did you choreograph also?
I did. It was good, but it wasn't like my passion. There was so many people that just do it and not even think about it. I had to think about it.
Okay, so you did this, but acting was still in your crosshair, di ba? Talagang yun talaga. You had your sights on that one, right? Paano ka nag-pivot from dancing, from being in the background? I mean, how were you putting yourself out auditions, or did you get an agent, or?
No agent,
Wow.
no auditions. I got a lot of jobs through referrals. But really, after being a backup for the boy band, it made me realize I did not want to be a backup. I did not want to be in a backup
Can you tell them what are your non-privileges as a backup? Can you let people know? Kasi, and the reason why I want you to tell them, dito sa LA, in the band scene, I guess by now you've probably figured out I'm in the band scene, right? I tell local bands in LA, do not aspire to be a front act. Mm-hmm. That's not the end goal.
No, it's not.
Like when people say, I shared the stage with Martin Rivera. No, you did not share the stage with Martin Rivera. Sharing the stage with Martin Rivera is singing with Martin Rivera. That's it. Pinainit mo lang yung stage. Tinanggal mo lang yung alikabok. Diba? Yun ang trabaho ng,
that's a reality though.
Right? It has to be more than that.
Yeah.
Well, how can you tell them the non-privilege of being a backup?
So, part of being a backup dancer is you warm up the stage, and you don't take the spotlight from the actual band. And you enter when you have to enter, you exit when you have to exit. Mm-hmm. You don't do any fan stuff unless they ask you to.
Right.
And then all the other extra stuff. You definitely dance more than the band. You're getting paid whatever minimum that they give you, and you're either thankful for it or you're not. And a lot of people, and I would say even outside of the dance world and acting and everything, just because you book a job doesn't mean you're the star of the job. There are other people in the entire production that you have to rely on. And everyone who really has worked in this kind of environment understands where their place is. And you don't definitely want to piss off anyone on stage, and you don't want to piss off anyone behind the stage, right? And so the way that you carry yourself from the moment that you start work, that's entering the space, you're representing who you're going to be for other people that would potentially want to work
reputation
with you.
When it's on the line.
Yeah. And that's how I got a lot of referrals. They just saw me. It was fun on stage. I stood out, and I was willing to do a lot of things. I didn't really complain.
But see, isn't that like, paano ba sasabihin? It's like being sakal. Kasi you already by nature stand out. Your peers can see that. But everybody knows because of the politics of what your position is, there's nothing we could do. We like you, pero diyan ka lang.
Yeah.
Is that the reality?
Yeah.
Now, we'll talk about how you broke off on that little space after this word from our sponsors. We'll be back. And we're back with Clifford Banagale. There you go.
That was good.
That was good.
That was very good. The Banagale.
Hindi, I heard you say it kasi. Like, I was watching your interview with Tonji.
Oh yeah.
Hi, G.
Hi.
I hope you're watching. So, it's like, oy, sinabi. Because other people would say Bana, di ba? Banagale or Banagale.
Banagale. That's
Banagale.
the American version
Uh-huh.
of
And then
my
nakita ko may
name.
ganun. It's like, oh, baka Banagale. So,
You're right.
there you go. So now, Mr. Banagale, how were you able to break away from the chains of the backup life?
The dancer life is pretty cutthroat in LA. You know, in every dance studio, Millennium, The Edge, you're not just going there to learn dance or to rehearse or something. You're going there to get casted.
Is it true may ano yan? It cutthroat yung...
It is cutthroat. I mean, girls are in their makeups. All the guys are dressed in gear. Everyone is going full out the entire time.
Like if we were friends, tayong dalawa, pagdating natin doon, no friendship.
Well, no, you can still be friends, but you're there to show off.
Right. Kumbaga parang, dude, my time, my spot,
Yeah.
my limelight.
And some people are very nice, and some people are not. You know?
Wow.
And I guess you can say that about acting too, but it just wasn't for me. And I didn't want to be the background, and I didn't want to be a dancer because I knew that wasn't like my high skill set. I wanted to dance. I was able to dance, but it wasn't my dream to be a dancer. And there's so many
Yeah.
people that have that.
And
That are better.
Elliot doesn't dance. Wala ako nakitang dancing sa ET.
Oh,
Wala, di ba?
no.
Okay.
No. They ran a lot.
They ran a lot. So tapos nun, what happened?
So that's when I got another pamphlet from the school that I auditioned for. It was called the American Musical and Dramatic Academy.
So you would really go after your
Yeah.
opportunity.
Yeah. But this time, the campus was opening up in Los Angeles. So now they have a New York campus and a Los Angeles campus.
What about the scholarship?
Well, I had to audition again. So it
Okay.
wasn't guaranteed. And the great thing about the LA version is that they had a specific curriculum for film and TV,
Uy.
plus the musical theater and all the other stuff.
Yes.
So I said, okay, I don't want to skip it this time. I'll find a way to make it work for myself, blah, blah, blah. I auditioned, and this time I was really prepared. And I wasn't a kid anymore. I wasn't just out of high school dreaming, like, blah, 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 I'm going to make it.
Kumbaga
you know?
battle scarred ka na nito.
Yeah. And so I got my acceptance, and I got a scholarship. Almost a full ride, and I was really, really thankful. But I knew that when I started school, it was going to be a lot because it was a conservatory. It was 2 years. So it was very like cha, 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 you know, and you can't be late. Some of the rules were you can't be late 3 times, otherwise you're out of the class.
Wow.
And if you're spending that much money on school, you better
Yeah.
take it seriously. So,
So your gig life had to take a back seat.
oh yeah. And not many people know this, but I worked for IKEA for a very long time. It's a really good company.
In West Covina.
In West Covina, yeah.
That's my IKEA. I like that place.
DJ Mo used to work with me when he
Really?
was here in LA. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. What's up, Mo?
Didn't know that, Mo. Now I do.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I was at school and I was working at IKEA over the weekend. And I was so tired. And I also vowed to myself that I was going to be celibate for the 2 years that I was there.
Wow.
Because I needed to focus. There was no partying. I mean, I hung out with friends after school or class or something like that, but I was super focused. And a lot of the kids and a lot of the adults that went there,
So back to square one ka.
exactly, they were like in high school again. It literally was like the fame school. You know, everyone was
Wow.
singing, dancing, blah, blah, blah. And I
That was
like,
it.
That was it.
Singing, dancing, sleep. Singing, dancing, sleep. Part-time job. Singing, dancing, sleep.
Yeah, but unfortunately, not everyone, and just like real life, will do that. You know,
Yeah.
some people did it to the max. I was one of them, and some people went to class, missed class, was late.
What was your motivation?
My motivation was I needed to leave LA to get to New York.
So New York pa rin talaga ang
Yeah.
end goal.
That was like my biggest thing was to get to Broadway.
Alam mo, naaawa ako sa'yo kasi simula nung 8 years old, puro West Covina.
Yeah.
Come to think of it,
Yeah.
parang, naghintay ako, nagpunta kaya siya ng Glendale, ng...
Well, no. I mean, I grew up going to San Francisco a lot, to Las
Okay,
Vegas,
okay.
Palm Springs, all
Pero,
that stuff.
work was in Glendale. Where was the school?
The school was in Hollywood.
Oh, not bad.
Yeah, right by Capitol Records.
Is that the farthest you've driven? Just kidding.
Not by myself. No. I traveled.
Traffic.
Yeah, there's a lot of traffic. And
And you were there on time.
yeah. Well, I was thankful because I even though I didn't have schooling housing
Yes.
for school,
Yes.
I wasn't able to afford it. I had a lot of friends that let me sleep over in their apartments.
So you were
or in the
couch
house.
surfing?
Oh, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
But and also when they were like partying, I literally would just fall asleep on the couch. I was like, okay, it's 9 o'clock. I'm going to sleep.
And that was it.
No,
And
that's
then
it.
school the following day.
Yeah, and I was willing to sleep on like the floor if I needed to, in my friends' closets to get away from people, and they were all okay with it. But I could say like I was one of the people that was allowed to audition while I was in school. And usually in that particular school, it's a no-no because you have to concentrate.
Were you one of the excellent students in your batch?
I would say so. Yeah. I was definitely also one of the more mature ones.
Okay. Now, the reason why I'm asking this, you brought this upon yourself to be excellent.
Yeah.
Kasi mga iba think na, how come they're not saying I'm excellent? It's not by chance, right? It's by design. Tama ba?
Yeah. And some people got to work on it.
Right.
Some people have to work very, very hard on it.
But bottom line is everybody has to work to be excellent.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yet-
mean, there's a few that just have it.
Really? You think?
But the few that just have it don't always get it because they don't work on it. Or they rely on it and that's it. And it doesn't go anywhere. So the average person can really get to that place of success if they continue to work at it.
What was your attitude?
My attitude was, this is the most important thing and this is it.
Were you a
Nothing
snob?
else.
Were you a snob? You came across probably as snobbish.
Hindi, no.
Really? Like kung barkada mo
I'm
ako-
Filipino.
Exactly.
We're not snobs.
So kung barkada mo ako, kaklase mo ako, and I go, oy, bar tayo pagkatapos nito.
I'd say
Exactly my
it
fault.
depends. It depends. The school is really scary sometimes because my dance teacher, she was beautiful, this blonde lady, and she was like, you look at her and you're like, but
She didn't invite you out?
Oh, we all passed out when we saw her. But like, if she taught you dance, she expected you to know it the next day.
What?
And if you did not know it, we would have to do this whole floor work, and it was scary. So I partied when I could, but I spent a lot of time, like, for example, I was in tap, and I wasn't like the best at tap. I was okay. And there were a lot of kids that were really, really good, but also there were a lot of kids that were bad or didn't know how to do it. And there was this one tap move that I couldn't get, and that was the only thing that was keeping me from advancing.
What was it?
I forget. It was like a
Like a heel toe?
no.
Toe, heel,
It
heel?
was a triple toe kick turn
Triple
flap.
toe, wow.
It was
Wow.
a combination, and so I spent 2 to 3 hours a day trying to get this specific thing, and otherwise I wasn't going to advance to the next level.
How do they teach you? They just say, triple toe, kick, turn, and then what?
Flap.
Flap.
Yeah.
Flap is like a,
Yeah.
okay. So, they just talk to you na ito gagawin mo and then you do it, or they'll demo it and then you copy it?
Yeah, they demo and you copy.
Okay, wow.
And then
Ooh.
during the rest of the class is catered to whatever the skill set of the class is. But I didn't want to be the person that
Right.
stood in the class and not go anywhere. I was like, no, I want to be with other kids.
Right.
So I had to work extra hard, and that also went along with opera. So if I couldn't hit a specific note, or it didn't lay in my voice as well as
So that required rest.
Exactly. It required less, or it required me plucking that note until I got it, and I exercised all the way to night sometimes. Yeah. Yeah, that's what you got to do.
Cold water, bawal.
Yes. Before I sing, I don't do any kind of caffeine or any kind of cold water, all room temperature. And I try to rest my voice until I have to sing.
So yung concept na these people who are doing A, B, and C excellently, the audience actually thinks, siguro that guy is a party goer, ganyan, ganyan, ganyan. Ang hindi nila naiintindihan, your body is your instrument.
Yeah.
Eh.
Yeah.
Tama ba?
Yeah. I didn't drink. I didn't smoke. I still don't smoke. I occasionally drink, but never when I'm like singing. And when I know I have a venue where I have to sing, I don't do anything for at least a month prior, and I rehearse almost every single day until I get the right tonation, the breathing pattern, the emotion to where the song is. I want the song to.
Are you hard on yourself?
Yeah.
Very?
Not extreme. I'm not OCD in that sense. I know how to have a little fun.
Okay.
You know, but
Pagkatapos ng coronavirus, I'll invite you back again, ha?
yeah.
I want to see what fun is Clifford Banagale style.
Yeah, actually, you invited me to go eat some
Yes,
adobo, right?
yes.
Well, I'm fasting
No,
right now.
beef steak, pork steak.
Oh my God, that's the best.
Oh yeah, home cooked. Tell them what your reaction was when you came into the house.
I said, oh my God, what is that? And he was eating already.
JJ was eating.
And I was like, I'm fasting.
Sayang. Okay, now, how did Hollywood come to you?
I was fortunate kasi right before I graduated, I auditioned for some pretty big shows.
Let's talk about that first. Audition. Yan ang... takot ako sa audition. Sa kapal ng mukha ko, takot ako sa audition. Because part of audition is rejection, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a scary thing for a lot of people. Fortunately, I wasn't scared of rejection. I knew that there was going to be a lot of no's, a lot of creeps.
How do you take no's? And then later, how do you take creeps? How do you take no's?
So for notes,
No, not notes, no's. How do you take a no when people say no?
You know, someone taught me to say, it's not about you. And then you go. You're like, you don't think about the audition. You don't wait for them to call you back.
Pero Clifford, ang sa akin, before you go to audition, you prepare for a role, di ba? Let's say it's an acting role.
Yeah.
You're reading a part of a script. You have to internalize that character. You have to bond with that character. You think it's yours. You have to really visualize that this is my part, and then it's not.
Yep. Well, unfortunately, the reality is it's not your part until it's your part.
Right.
You know, and
So you have to take off that mentality right away.
Right away.
Wow.
And I was also taught never to say anything until you sign the paper that says it's yours, you know? Because you get really caught up because you never know what happens during production.
Did it ever happen to you that you opened your mouth before signing and then, oops, it's not mine?
One time.
Okay.
And that was it. I don't want to talk about it.
And the reason why I asked, I'll share a little story. I always told, pag may variety show sa Philippines, hindi pa signed yung banda namin, yung intro voice. I would tell people, tatanungin ako ng coordinator. So Paco, how do you want us to introduce your band? And I would say, we're coming up with an album in the summertime. And then, yung vocalist namin, si Jonathan Buencamino, shout out Jonathan, he pulled me to the side, sabi niya, Pax, pwede ba wag na natin sabihin yung maglalabas tayo ng album? Sabi ko, bakit? Kasi 5 taon na natin sinasabi.
5 years? Okay, well, yeah, I understand that.
But guess what? On the 5th year after that variety show, we really came out with an album.
That's good.
And we became the biggest band in the Philippines. So,
There you go.
di ba, minsan, do you hold it and claim it? Or do you know what I mean?
Well,
Iba yun.
Iba yun, because you had control over the album.
No,
right?
Because we had to be signed to a label. I kept saying na magkaka-album na kami kahit wala pa. We got signed under We Records after that.
Well, see, that's powerful though. Like having that, what did I say? That mantra where you tell you tell the universe what you want. Yeah, and you get it.
Pero sa'yo, mahirap gawin yun because every audition, imagine if you're saying that to every audition and you're getting a rejection, parang...
I don't.
Exactly.
That's
There you
not
go.
my mantra. What I will say is I'm going to book this kind of project and this many movies this year. And I'm really, really,
and that's where
very
you're laser
conservative.
focused, yeah.
Yeah, I'm very conservative as far as like what I send out to the universe. I don't expect 15 leading roles for
Yeah.
Universal and get paid $5 million right off. No.
Now, how does one audition and how does one prepare for an audition?
So,
And then we'll go back to Hollywood after
yes,
that.
yeah. So,
Muna tayo.
let's say you're doing a film or TV, okay? If you submit yourself or your agent submits yourself, you get an email either the day before the audition, sometimes the night before.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I've definitely had many of those. Or sometimes it'll be on a Thursday, Friday before the Monday audition, which is really nice. You get a lot of time.
So that's a lot of time na.
Yeah.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. For 4 days is a long time na.
Yeah, and that depends, and casting. Casting has a lot of other things in that they have to consider too. Sometimes they just need more people audition. Sometimes they don't. And once you get the audition, you start learning your lines. Then you start learning your breaks. Then you do the scene study for that role. You come up with
Sometimes less than 24 hours, right?
Yeah, and the reality is a lot of people here are working, right? You're working
Yes.
a different job most of the time, and then you get your role online and you get a notification, either your manager or agent texts you, and you're like, oh my God. So you're learning at work, you're working, and you come back home, you learn the script, and you basically spend all night or however much that you can to it, and you either get a coach or you don't, depending on the time. If it's the day before, you can't get a coach. Most coaches are not going to be available.
If you're not an A-lister, can you afford a coach?
You can, yeah.
Kahit hindi ka A-lister.
Yeah.
And then,
definitely.
do you have to pay the coach right away or parang attorney, parang, personal injury attorney?
The IOUs.
There's a personal injury attorney. We'll get you money or we don't get paid.
The great thing is there are a lot of coaches out there that don't have to be a celebrity coach, and there are really good people out there that if they really believe in you and you have a young talent or you're just raw, some of them are willing to coach you for free. I will say that's not for everyone.
Right.
And it's dependent on how much you give into your talent and you work at it.
So, kumbaga, you become that coach's investment.
Exactly. But no, most of the time people pay.
Okay. Now, I asked you about how did you get an agent? Because at this time, you're not hustling for yourself anymore. Someone's hustling for you now, right?
Yeah.
How did that happen, naman? Was that in school? After school?
Yeah. Well, great you asked. While I was in school, before I graduated, maybe a month, and I was auditioning for really big Broadway shows. I was auditioning for Rent.
New York talaga.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, I have to book something. And then I booked 2 shows. It is Peter Pan and South Pacific 2 weeks before I graduated. And I was one of, I think, 3 people that booked a show. And so after I did that contract and I came back to LA, someone scouted me because I had a few online profiles for acting.
Okay.
And if you don't know as an actor or if you're starting out as an actor, there's different websites that allow you to submit yourself as an actor. It also allows you to see scripts or meet agents or managers. Yeah.
Okay.
So so I had that profile for like 2 or 3 profiles. A manager scouted me and a few agents. And when I sat down with them, I knew what to say. I said, and the one thing that I wanted to make sure it was super straight and focused, I said, I don't need a manager. I don't need an agent. What I'm looking for is someone that I can work with so that I get to the next level. Because I'm booking things myself. And I was that confident, you know, and I knew what questions to ask, like, what's my out if this doesn't work out? You know, what's the trial period for both of us? And these are some of the things that you should know if you're starting out.
So, like, let's go have coffee. Dapat may out ka na, alam mo na kagad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You definitely want to do your research.
What's our safe word?
Safe word. Right, exactly.
Cappuccino.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I'm glad that I grew up in LA because you see a lot of that already happening, right? But for people that are not from LA...
I know. They're the ones who are taken advantage of. Diba?
Yeah, and it's really sad.
Yeah.
But I was fortunate enough there was a lot of guidance before that happened. I knew that 15% or more is going to be too much to pay anyone if you're already not working, right?
Okay.
So I said, okay, anything more than 15% is crazy to give to an agent or a manager.
Right.
And it's also a way that they'll test you if you know the knowledge, right, of the industry. So I ended up signing up with a manager. I wasn't ready for an agent yet. And
what's the difference between a manager and an agent?
Sure. An agent navigates your auditions and sells you to the casting directors.
Okay.
Okay. And then a manager helps you manage your overall career and where you want to go.
Like the game plan.
Exactly. That doesn't mean that agents can't do that. It
Right.
doesn't mean that managers won't submit you to auditions. But
Conflict of interest kasi to be an agent manager, di ba?
yeah. That usually doesn't happen.
Because you'll be a workhorse,
Yeah.
di ba? Parang okay, really, we're taking this gig?
Yeah, and well, also there's different unions.
Ah,
And most of the time, I don't think they allow you to be both.
okay. Now, where does the lawyer come in?
Entertainment lawyer, I didn't get until I booked my big project. And usually you don't really need an entertainment lawyer if you have an agent
Okay.
or a manager.
Bahala na sila ron.
Yeah,
Okay.
unless you don't trust your agent or your manager and you want to work also for yourself. But for the most of the time, you will have that like kind of relationship where you should be able to talk to your agent and your manager like this, right? If you have a hard time talking to your agent or your manager, it's probably not the right one, or you're not booking enough jobs,
Right.
or you're just not ready to have one in your
Right.
career, right?
Like you call, you get voicemail all the time, and they reply 2 days
Yeah.
later. Parang okay, something's wrong with this relationship. Entourage, does it mirror real life?
It's pretty good, yeah. It's pretty much.
Parang ganun talaga?
Yeah. And it's so funny because I had a friend from he's Danish, and I worked with him in one of the films when I was in Germany, and he came to LA specifically to live in LA in Beverly Hills, so he can have the entourage experience. I was like, what the hell are you talking about? You can't come to my audition. You can't come with me. You know, no, we're not just gonna run into like Sandra Bullock down the street. We probably will, but not like that. You know, it was crazy. But yeah, a lot of people have like this this picture of Hollywood, right? And that it's also going to happen to them.
Right.
But what a lot of people don't realize is a lot of the people that they see on TV and film and these commercials, they started when they were little kids.
Like you.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and you work at it, and you work on it. There are I've known so many people that don't book jobs until like they're 40 and then they hit, you know, or they are really, really good as a young star and then they don't make it after that.
Alam mo sa Philippines nung panahon ng 90s, ngayon at least nagbabago na. Now, they really develop talent sa
Yeah.
Philippines. Dati hindi. Nakita ka lang sa mall, kinabukasan may commercial ka na sa Colgate or Close Up.
Yeah.
The following month, may contract ka na with Viva Films.
That's great.
Walang talent yun, ha?
That's great.
Walang talent yun, guys. Mukha lang talaga. And then, fingers crossed, hopefully magkaroon ka ng talent in the process.
Yeah. And I think that's the difference now between the talent that you used to see
Yeah.
in the Philippines and the Filipino movies versus the talent that they have now.
Kaya kita mo naman ngayon, ang ganda na ng mga production sa Pilipinas din, di ba?
I think it was like late 90s, no, early 2000s when I saw a Filipino film. And because my mom watched the Filipino soaps all the time, but I saw this and I was like, this is the kind of film they're doing now. I
Galing,
want to go
no?
back to the
Of course,
Philippines
yeah.
for that, right? So good job to them.
I know, kudos to them. So, we talked about the no, handling a no. How do you handle the creeps?
The creeps, yeah. Well, you got to know they exist.
They exist.
They exist.
Harvey's the biggest one.
Yeah, well, he's one of them.
Okay, he's one of the biggest one.
And I will say for the parents that have their children auditioning and
Yes,
going on,
please.
you never leave your child alone. You don't sign up your child to do anything that you know that you yourself as an adult would want them to do. And there are a lot of parents out there that want the fame and the fortune through their child.
Wow.
You know, and it's unfortunate, but thankfully with some of the movements that are happening, there's a lot more, it's a different culture, you know, working environment. The people that are coming into LA or New York, whatever's a big city, and you're coming from a small town, do a lot of research. Don't enter a person's house for a script reading or anything like that, or an agent or manager, unless it's a public place or it's in their office.
Right.
Do as much research as you can before you enter in any place, and look at your contract. Don't just sign it.
And you know what? Yung kaibigan namin, no? Nasa mall siya. Nilapitan sila. Na ipapasok daw yung, oh, your daughter is so pretty. Well, you want her to be a musketeer, ganyan. And then sinisingil sila ng $5,000 for all of this. So I go, dude, scam yan.
Yeah. You know, I was actually scouted for a few of those.
Really?
Yeah, you got to pay for this
Right.
get
So,
this.
oh my God, I'm sorry that happened to you. But
Well, I never went through with it.
okay, good.
And thankfully, my parents were not into me acting anyway. So
Oh,
it was
no.
like an automatic no.
Wow.
But you got to watch out. And also, it's one of those things that when you're learning as a child, you always try to teach your kids, don't go into the white bus or in the white truck
Yeah.
with the puppy and the old guy.
Right.
You never do that. So it's kind of the same feeling that you have when you go into a place. You know, if you have a bad feeling, it might not be
Trust
a good
your
thing.
gut, no?
Trust your gut. Tell everyone where you're going, close friends where you're going, what the address is, and all that stuff. It's just general safety precautions. And if it's
Right.
if you're uncomfortable because someone touched you, it's okay to say don't touch me, or say in a different way. Hey, you know what? Let's do something else. You know,
Got it.
or I thought we were going to talk about this. If it's not
Keep
for
it
you,
professional talaga, no?
keep it professional, because some people don't know what your boundaries are. Some people like to push boundaries, and some people just don't know what the boundary is, you know, so you got to say it. And it's okay to say that, right? But you also have to be tactful, because you yourself don't want to lose opportunities because
Right.
you can't work with, there's going to be so many different people on set.
Yeah.
You know, that's another thing on set. You got to also play with the other people that is not necessarily going to be a friend of yours.
And you don't want to be accused of being accusatory.
Yeah.
Parang ganun.
And you don't want to jump to conclusions
Exactly.
either, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. But that takes time. That takes a lot of time being exposed to those things, and having a good core of friends and people that support you.
When we come back, we'll talk about the ins and outs of Hollywood. Only buti na lang nandito siya. Clifford Banagale, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back after these reminders. And we're back. Off-cam, pinag-usapan ng ins and outs of Philippine cinema. Pero hindi yun ang interesting eh. Ang interesting, Hollywood with a Hollywood actor. So dito tayo sa Hollywood. Now, we were talking about creeps before we went on, we went to the break. And then talk during the break.
Yeah.
But Hollywood, ins and outs. I mean, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and how you were able to make it.
Well, expect to be poor unless you grew up in a rich family, which a lot of people don't know. The people that are in TV, there's a lot of people that have grown into that.
I know, right?
And have rich families, you know. I don't want to name names. And that's good. That's good
Why
for
not?
them.
Yeah.
You know? I wish I had my parents.
Yeah,
that were
second
really
generation
rich.
ka na or whatever,
Exactly.
di ba?
They deserve that,
Yeah.
di ba?
But you know, ang nakakatuwa sa kanila, they also had to prove themselves
Yeah.
also. Like sina Zoe Deschanel.
Yeah.
Dad's a cinematographer.
Yep. She worked for it. She didn't
Right?
just get it.
No, my dad's a cinematographer. I should be the... No.
You don't get a guarantee just because
Exactly.
you're rich. And you don't get a
Actually,
guarantee just because you're in entertainment.
Kawawa pa nga yung mga yan because all eyes on them. Di ba?
Yeah.
Sina Gwyneth Paltrow. She had to prove herself.
And she did.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. Anyway.
Well, for me, I already had to prove to myself, but mostly my parents,
Right.
that I didn't make a mistake.
Si Tita Nympha, naabutan niya yung success mo.
She did, yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. It was a secret for a little bit because the time that I was filming a big Universal.
Tell them what it is.
It was called Bruno with Sacha Baron Cohen in 2009. I was filming for a while, for a long time, but it was super secret, and that was part of my contract. I couldn't say anything.
NDA talaga, there's a non-disclosure agreement.
And right before I booked that movie it was a $42 million film.
Right.
And before I booked that film, I was doing Hair, the musical, at a theater in LA, which, if you're working in LA at a theater, they don't pay a lot.
Exactly.
And that's why there's not a lot of theater in LA, but it's a great art form. And I respect everyone that does it. I actually miss that.
Long nights though, no?
Long nights, a lot of no pays. You got to do your second or third jobs.
Pero fulfilling.
And fulfilling.
So, at saka yung adrenaline rush of not laughing or whatever.
Yeah. But, I will say there's also some pretty big stars that started out doing, Mark Ruffalo did LA Theater, 100-seat, 99-seat contracts.
And some of them would go back just to
Yeah.
get that rush again, di ba? Parang
Because
ganun.
it's part of your work, part
Yeah.
of working at your work and practicing. So going back to your
yes,
advice,
let's talk about that NDA thing.
the NDA. So I couldn't talk. So I would disappear for weeks.
Weeks talaga.
So one day,
So you can't tell pag sinabing, you cannot tell anybody, and that means anybody.
wala.
Not even
No
your dog.
one. No.
Dang.
Thankfully, he didn't understand English.
Exactly. So wala talaga.
Wala talaga. So one day there was a stretch limo that showed up in front of our house, and usually you get picked up by a small black Cadillac, right, to get to set. And so my mom came in my room and was like, "Hey, there's a limousine that's asking for you." I was like, "Oh." They're like, "Is that for you?" I was like, "Well, yeah, I think I gotta go now." And then she's like, "Where are you going?" So I had to come up with, I knew I was going to be gone for 2 weeks at least. And I told her, I booked a commercial, so I have to fly to New York. I'll call you when I get there. Bye. And
That was it.
That was it. So she saw me getting in the limousine, and everyone from the street saw me because we lived in a cul-de-sac. So the entire street freaking saw me go into, and all these people saw me growing up. And they're like, why the hell is he in a limousine? And I couldn't tell anyone. So that was one of the many things that happened.
Stressful.
It was stressful.
What was the
just to hide.
consequence? What was the consequence?
Thankfully none. But the consequence really was that I was so shut off that because I couldn't tell anyone or share my experience with anyone,
Diba?
I felt very alone. And it was you don't know what depression is until you know that you're in a hotel room and you have all these lavish things that you get that comes along with the job, and you can't say anything.
You can't share it.
You can't share it. You can't talk about it. And even in production, and they tell you it's okay. You can share it with us. It's like, I can't. I don't want to mess this up. So it's like it's a hidden secret, and it was kind of sad. I felt sad, and I didn't know that until like maybe a year and a half after.
How long was the shoot?
I filmed about a year and a half.
A year and a half
worth of.
Wait, on and off or on?
On and off.
On and off.
Yeah. Because I didn't really know when I had to leave until they told me I had to go. They're like, okay, we're flying you out this time, blah, 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 blah. Sometimes it was like, a few days notice. Sometimes it was like,
So
hey.
parang kang superhero.
I guess.
Di ba parang may secret identity, di ba?
I
Parang,
guess, yeah. I was super thankful. I was very fresh. It was one of the biggest projects I've ever worked at. That was my big project.
how'd you land the gig?
There was an audition. It was nondescript. It didn't really say much. It just said, this is the call. This is your character. You show up. It had nothing to do with whatever the film was. And it was, back then I was going through maybe 3 or 4 auditions a week, if not a day. And if for the people that don't know, in LA, sometimes your auditions in LA, and then you go to North Hollywood, or you go to Long Beach, and you're zigzagging back and forth downtown.
You're a
LA.
star driver. Di ba? Parang star.
Yeah, and back then you didn't have like the maps. You had actual maps that you have to go through.
The Thomas Guide.
Yeah, exactly. And there was no like iPhones back then, so you really had to map out your time.
Right.
And you never want to be late for an audition.
Never.
Never.
Did you have to fall in line for an audition?
If it's an open call, yes.
Okay.
But usually for film or TV, you have a specific time.
Okay.
Yeah. But if you can't make it to that specific time, you can always call your agent or your manager and see if there's a different time available. Right? Sometimes you don't want to be that guy, but sometimes you have to. And a lot of casting is okay with that.
When they were when they told you that you were auditioning for Bruno, did you know you were auditioning for Bruno?
No, I didn't know. I didn't know until...
Did you know it was a big film?
No.
Nothing. They don't tell you.
And I submitted that myself. I submitted for that role by myself. I didn't have an agent, just a manager at that time. And I was submitting a lot of things for a lot of roles. So to me, it was just the last audition before I have to go to my show. So I was like,
yeah.
And I almost didn't go.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I almost didn't go to the audition because I was like, oh my God, I don't want to do this. But I did. And I was thankful that I got a call back.
Wait, so you went there. How long were you there?
For the audition? The audition was fairly quick. I waited maybe 10 to 15 minutes at most.
And then audition was like 5-10 minutes, not even.
Yeah, about 5-10 minutes. The casting director was super nice. I'm super thankful for Allison, and she gave me a note. She said, "I need you to do this next time," and she asked me because the role required to have an accent. It had to be a genuine accent, and she said, "Is that really your accent? Is that your voice?" And so I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Why would you ask?" I'm thinking, "Why would you ask me that?" And then I got it. People are. Anyway, so she gave me a note, and I said, okay, and I left. I was like, okay. I didn't think about it after that.
So you went on with your day, you had a theater gig that night.
Yeah.
This was just one of those auditions.
Yeah.
Manhid ka na sa rejection or whatever. I'll just go through the motion.
Yeah.
And then what?
And then the following, I think it was a Friday, because I was doing my show already. I didn't get a call back, I think, the following Tuesday or Wednesday to come on a Thursday or Friday.
To do another audition.
Yeah, for a call back.
When you get called for a callback, you know that something good could happen.
Yeah. So the general rule is when you get called for an audition, that's your first audition.
Right.
Because the casting director is already looking at your photo, they're looking at your resume, looking at your looks and whatever potential you have, right? So if someone calls you back for an audition, that's your audition. The second time is going to be your actual audition where you meet in person. And that's with the casting director or the casting assistant. And then on your callback, that's when you either go to the producers or with the directors or the entire team.
Or the actor, or the main guy, or whatever.
Or the main person, yeah. And so when I went to my audition, my callback, there was a long strip of people down the hallway.
Oh my God.
And I was one of the last people to be seen.
So ito na yung falling in line.
Yeah.
Okay.
We all had specific times, but it was so long. And I remember being across the audition room where you can tell that they're either laughing or not laughing. I'm like, oh, why are they not laughing?
So you didn't know it was a comedy?
I didn't know. No, I did not know.
Did you ever do comedy prior to this?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah. But mostly accidental comedy, not so much timing comedy.
Yeah, because this is timing comedy.
Timing comedy mixed with what was it? Mixed with a lot of improv.
Alam mo, ito I'll commend you now. How do I say it? To keep a straight face and not, ulitin ko yung ano. Alam mo kung ano yung eksena eh.
Yeah.
Pero you had to be that character, and me as the audience, I had to laugh at you thinking that was a non-laughable.
Yeah.
Ang
Yeah.
galing eh.
Yeah.
Masyadong meta yun ah. Anyway.
And there's differences in comedy timing. It's different in TV.
Yeah.
Right. It's
Pag
different
sitcom,
in film.
yeah.
Sitcom is like it's a
Yes.
mechanism you gotta know. 1, 2, 3.
Boom.
And that's hard. That's hard in American TV. And it's different in live theater.
Yeah.
Too, right. So
Okay, so nakikita mo na.
So I'm in line.
May tumatawa, may mga hindi tumatawa.
exactly, and I see a lot of sad faces.
Leaving.
Performances
Parang
leaving.
American Idol ang dating.
Yeah, kind of. But I kind of knew I was probably in a good place because a lot of people that were leaving the office further down the line would say hi to me, and a lot
Okay.
of them said hi by first name. They're like, oh, hey, Clifford. I was like, that's strange. How the hell did they know me already? I'm like one of 50 people here. I was like, okay, cool. So I get to the main space, and they start miking me up.
Ooh.
And that usually doesn't happen on a callback. I was like, oh. And the entire office knew me. They're like, oh my God, Clifford, we've been waiting for you. I was like,
Okay,
oh.
now did Allison's note about the accent, did you bring that with you on the callback?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I had to be that on the whole time. And I was like, wow, everyone's really nice. Why did they all know my
So wala ka
name?
pa rin idea
I
of
didn't
me.
know.
Oh.
No. And so the assistant opens the door, and then I see Sasha sitting on this.
You didn't know he was there too.
No, I didn't know. And it was like the entire crew. That's the directors, all the writers, all the producers.
Were you the last, second to the last, or what were you?
I forget. I didn't even give a fuck who the hell was behind me. You know, it was like I forgot everyone else. I didn't care. And so they open the door, and I see everyone here, all the producers. I knew were producers, the writers, everyone. And then like Sasha sitting at his desk, and there was like one little sofa, one little chair. And I was like, just like, what the fuck? You know? But I didn't have I was just staring at everyone, and everyone started laughing. I was like, why are they laughing at me? And they're like, okay, Clifford, you know, this is Clifford, everyone. Why don't you take a seat here? And so I walk and I take a seat, and they start laughing again. And the second time they laughed, I was like kind of offended.
Hold on. Were you going to do something that night?
No.
Okay, buti na lang pala.
Yeah, no. I cleared my schedule.
Okay.
But I was like, why the hell did they laugh? I didn't even do anything yet. So I was getting angry. You know, and part of the role was like you're like this bitchy person.
Right.
And so my audition went really well.
Without you knowing it.
Without me knowing.
Because you're really bitchy inside.
Yeah.
Getting bitchy inside.
And they were just laughing. And thankfully, I also kind of prepared what improv I was going to do if anything were to happen. And also went along with whatever he did. And then I got...
Was he in character?
Yeah.
He was in character.
Well, he broke a few times.
Okay. Was he dressed or just in character?
No, he was just normal.
Okay.
And usually, this is also a good advice for anyone that's doing the role. They'll tell you what they're looking for as far as attire. For theater, you don't want to dress in a costume. You want to, if you're doing Wicked, you don't want to look like Elphaba with a green face. You can wear a green sweater, you know, or something like that.
Okay.
So I get to my next, my final audition.
There's a final audition pa.
Yeah.
So after callback,
callback.
Callback went well. How did you feel leaving that room?
I was like,
Were you trying to, were you pinching yourself or did
not
they?
yet.
Okay.
Not yet. I didn't do that.
But during the callback, were you requested to sign an NDA dun pa lang?
Yeah, actually, no. During the audition.
Audition pa lang,
yeah.
NDA na kagad.
And so I left. And I remember, you got to keep calm. Everyone in the office was like, oh, we heard you. We're so fun, blah, blah, blah. I was like, thanks. And I kept it all in until I got into that parking lot because I didn't want to be the weird guy walking down, the studio. And I'm like,
Doing the potty beret.
yeah. I was like, but then also I had to do a show that night. And I couldn't tell anyone. So I was like, okay, this is easy. I can't tell anyone shit. So I didn't. And then the following week, I got another call back. And it was basically five of us. But I knew I was going to be funnier than all of them.
5 of you gunning the diesel role. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
From 50 to 5.
There were probably many more that I didn't pay attention to the first time around. But I knew I was going to be funnier than all of them. And I also was last again.
And plus, they weren't calling the other guys by their first name.
Yeah. Well,
kinda.
By this time around, everyone, because there's only 5 of them,
yeah.
they already knew. But I knew I was different and I had something else that they liked. Because it's weird to just walk in a room, they're just laughing at you. Right. So I was like, okay, I at least have that.
Yeah.
And then I'll bring everything else. And there were some really big names that were auditioning with me. But I wasn't scared. I wasn't phased out by that because I knew I was like funny.
Now, during the audition, you said big names. Were there egos in the waiting room? Is it the same as auditioning for a dance group?
Some, yeah.
Talaga may ganun din, ha?
I mean, you can see when you're auditioning for TV or film, like you're gonna, if you get a call back, unfortunately, if you do, you will probably get someone who you recognize, somewhere,
Right.
In the same room as you, and it's important to know that they're also looking for the same part. You're on the same room. You got called back for the same for different reasons and specific to you. So you never want to let that phase you, but you also got to let it go after the audition. You can't get stuck and hope and pray for it.
Galing. So it came finally.
Mm-hmm.
They picked you. How did that feel?
It was crazy because I couldn't tell anyone.
Ikaw ba?
Just kept going.
Because you had all these extracurricular activities in high school. You did so many things.
Yeah.
Did you ever have a best friend?
Yeah, I couldn't say anything either. Yeah, it was.
Was your best friend hating you?
No.
No.
He knew I was doing something. Everyone knew I was doing something.
But
What the hell it was, no one knew. But I was always kind of that person though. Like I kept to myself. I'm kind of, I can be with a crowd and I also can be alone. And I think that was also a great gift that someone gave to me. Was being okay to be alone. And when I'm alone, I find a lot of good things that I need to work on about myself and be thankful for. And sometimes you just want to breathe and not be in front of people. It was hard.
So not being able to tell anybody, excited. This was your first major break, right?
Yeah. Except for my agent and my manager.
Right.
That was
but then
it.
again, you got this gig. You landed this gig, and you had to but you had to share everything with your manager and your agent after this.
Yeah, and even then they would like, Cliff, you can tell me. You can tell your manager. Nelson is my manager, and I was like, I don't know if I can.
You never told your manager. You never told anybody.
No, not until.
Not until you got the okay?
The movie premiered.
Not until the movie premiered?
Yeah. And
wait. Okay, I'm confused. Okay, wait. So if you were my manager and I went on audition with these two guys, Mike and JJ, and they made me sign an NDA, I can't tell you what this movie is all about?
Oh, no, my agent and my managers knew what was going on. But I couldn't tell them, like, the details. Like,
I couldn't.
no, I didn't feel comfortable.
Okay, got it.
Anyway,
You were playing it safe.
yeah. And also, like, it's $42 million. You didn't want to be the one person that says something. I'm like, I messed this up. My parents are gonna kill me. You know. And
Wow.
it was a lot of pressure too.
Before we go to the premiere, was that scripted? That Eminem Sasha thing at was that the Grammys, ba?
The MTV Movie
MTV,
Awards.
yeah.
I wasn't part of that, but I think everyone was in.
Everyone was in
probably
in on the prank.
Probably at
on the
least
sketch,
Eminem.
yeah.
At least Eminem and MTV. But
So Eminem knew that was going to happen.
probably.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, but probably he didn't. I don't know. You know, but the writers are really, really good.
Okay. Were they writing on the fly? Kasi sabi mo improv di ba?
Well, there's improv. You have to be able to bring improv in this situation. But there was a script.
How was it like working with Sasha?
It was great. It was intimidating.
At first or all the time?
I guess you can bounce back and forth.
Oh, wow.
But in that moment, because of my role, I was above him.
Yeah.
In the hierarchy.
Yeah.
So I didn't need to be scared of him. So it actually eased a lot of any kind of fear that I might have
Was he
had.
executive producing this? No.
I don't remember, but he's probably one of the producers.
Okay.
And I was actually watching, what's it called? I watched Borat and Ali G a lot right before I got this audition. So when I saw him in the room, I was like, this can't be happening. And I also said to the universe, and I prayed, I was like, I want to work with this person, blah, blah, blah. And it happened.
Galing,
See?
no?
Just one, not 300 people in
Yes.
1 year.
Yes.
You know, so, yeah, I'm super thankful for him. So when we got to the premiere, he asked me, hey, so, you know, have you told your parents? What did they say? I was like, I haven't told my parents.
Were they at the premiere?
No. No. It was the same day that Michael Jackson died, too.
Oh, June 20, what? June 25? Was it? 26? Something like that.
Something like that, yeah. And
Oh, that
but
was sad.
during the party, yeah, it was very sad. So during the party, the after party, Sasha told me, you got to tell your parents. What are you doing? Give them a call right now. I'll tell your parents. I was like, no, it's okay. It's okay. I'll tell them when I get home. So before I got a chance to tell my mom and dad, they went on a date, and I was in LA doing something, and they came back home. And so I called them. I was like, Mom, Dad, I got to tell you something. And they're like, oh, it's okay. We already know. We saw you in a movie. Why don't you tell us? And if you saw Bruno, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of sex. Okay. And I did a lot of things. So I was happy that my mom and dad, well, they paused for a second. They're like, why didn't you tell us? And they got super quiet. And they're like, it was great. We loved it. I was like, okay. I was like, at first I was like, oh my God, I don't want to be a nurse. You know? I don't want to be a nurse. Don't get mad at me. But so that happened, and I was thankful that since then they supported me. They didn't support my build.
Right.
I had to come up with like my way to make it. But I was thankful that they saw that it took a lot of work to get to that one.
But you know what's nice about you and your career? Hindi ka nagpa-pigeonhole eh. You were, after that, there's no stereotype. That's his role for life. Hindi naging ganun eh. Because you were able to pivot and do other stuff.
Yeah. In some ways, getting pigeonholed can be great for you.
Yeah.
Like Adam Sandler.
Yes.
He has an entire brand behind him.
But he's able to pivot into something serious also, di ba?
Exactly.
Sino ba? Si Ken, who's that Korean doctor na,
Yeah,
Ken Jeong?
he was a dentist for a very long time, right?
Right?
And his first movie was his first movie.
Ano yun? Sina Bradley Cooper? Researchers. Hangover.
That was
mga
his,
researchers natin.
that was his deal. But he was doing comedy for a little bit too,
Right,
for
right.
a long time. And so, there's not one way to get to whatever journey you have.
Yeah.
And so it goes back to you can't rely on every single audition and pray and sit and hope that that's going to be the one. It's going to be a process. Some might get it. That's part of reality, and some won't. And sometimes when you get calls, and I get calls for commercials a lot, and sometimes I'm one of the three. Either there's a Caucasian guy or an African American guy, and there's the other guy, the whatever nationality
Yes,
could be.
yes.
And sometimes he picks someone else because of something, for whatever reason, a million different reasons.
And you don't take
right?
it personally, right?
No, you can't. You can't. Because really, at the end of your audition, it's no longer up to you. You can only hold yourself accountable for your audition. So if you fucked it up, if you didn't learn your line, if you didn't pay attention to the other person, if you didn't play that role, if you didn't listen to them, it's okay. It's just one audition. You're going to have many more.
Now, when you hit that high note, what was the next step?
Well, there was a lot of pressure to get more high notes.
Right.
And
Pero like the opera, hindi pwedeng puro high notes.
exactly. And so I was up for a lot of big projects, but I was so young back then. It was really my first real project
Wow.
that, and on top of that, I couldn't really talk about it, and I wasn't allowed to advertise or anything like that. So a lot of other potential opportunities that you can't
Yeah.
really, and
You
that's
can't,
okay.
hindi ka maka-piggyback.
Yeah,
Because-
you can't piggyback the coattail of that one movie. So
right.
I really had to work at it. I'm super grateful. I'm super thankful for that experience. And that family is going to be a family for me
Yes,
forever.
yes.
But it just, that wasn't it for me. And that was okay. But my manager, I remember him telling me, you got to work on something else, at least 2 or 3 things right now that you can always talk about.
Yeah, yung mga walang NDA, no, yung mga ganon.
Yeah.
Is it as a standard operating procedure for it to have an NDA?
If it's a lot of commercials do it, TV not so much unless it's a pilot, and movies if they're attached to a star, yeah, there's NDA involved.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's part of it.
So after doing Bruno, because that was a high note, di ba?
Yeah.
What came next?
Busong.
How'd you land this film?
So, I said I'm very specific when I throw it out there. I said, okay, the next big thing I'm going to do is a trilogy, and it's going to be like Apocalypto meets the National Geographic.
Wow.
Okay. And so I was contacted by Aureos Solito.
Say his name again.
Aureos Solito. He helped fix my Tagalog, actually.
Kasi one of my sons, ang last name niya, he's my stepson, is Espinosa. Okay? But I would ask him, what's your name? He would say, Preston Chase Espinosa.
Oh, well, yeah. I would say it like that, too.
So sabi ko, dude, that's a Spanish last name.
Yeah.
And it's pronounced Espinosa. And I would tease him like that. But anyway, so,
Well, at least that's not Banagale.
oh, di ba?
It was really hard
That's how you would say it, ba? Banagale?
in the Philippines.
But here, ever since, Banagale?
Yeah. Actually, when I started auditioning more, now I say, think Italian.
Banagale.
And they get it right every time. So, yeah, that's a trick now.
My last name is Arespacochaga. That's
Oh, that is Filipino.
that's long. That's Arespacochaga. That's long.
You can think Italian that way too, right?
So, I wanted to change it. Kasi pag nag-citizen ka,
Really?
you can change your name.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I was thinking of my last name to be De Grate.
Bakit?
Paco De Grate.
Why?
Para pag pinage ako, di ba? Paging Paco the Great.
I saw that before he said it. Okay, I was like, Tigrate? Who's Tigrate?
Di ba, parang Banagale, di ba?
Did you change it?
No, heck no.
Okay. I was like,
So, with this movie, syempre, where do you guys do the movie? Here.
Palawan.
Palawan.
Yeah, it's so pretty. It's so pretty.
How
It's
long
like
were you there?
About 3 weeks.
Ooh.
3 weeks ago. Yeah, our hotel was right in front of the beach.
Were you able to swim?
No, I never had time to. But I got to swim in the waterfalls.
Oh, yeah.
So, okay lang.
Pero hindi ka nakapag, walang
No, we were
El
working a
Nido.
lot. El Nido, we went to El Nido.
Walang day off?
Wala.
Walang day off.
It was pretty strict.
Wow.
We were there. It was me, the director, and a producer, and we were there for about maybe 2 or 3 days before all the cast and crew showed up. But those 2 or 3 days I was there, I was like preparing and
Right.
fixing my Tagalog.
Kasi Tagalog yon.
Tagalog na Tagalog, yeah.
And your accent had to be,
It has to be
hindi
done.
hindi pwedeng, kamusta ka?
Yeah, no. And thankfully, I didn't have that already. And I can put on the accent. But I went to school and I had a dialect coach that coached all the dialect out of me, all the Tagalog out of me.
Galing, no?
Yeah, it was really hard. But now I had to put it back in.
Oh.
I had to put the Tagalog back in. So, he gave me a lot of notes. Clifford, say it like this, it sounds Bisaya. You're not Bisaya.
How do you say Avengers in Tagalog?
Avengers.
Oh, di ba? Okay, Avengers.
Avengers. That works too. Oh my God.
Iba-iba lang yung accent ng mga.
Avenger. Yeah.
Avengers. Parang, di ba dito, Cherokee. Right?
Yeah.
Sa Pilipinas, Cherokee.
Cherokee. Yeah. My dad says that too.
Cherokee.
Yeah, Cherokee.
Ay, Cherokee, oh, ganda. Okay, so you did this, yung talent fee, of course. Galing ka sa Hollywood movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then, is this an indie film?
It's an indie film, yeah.
So, Hollywood did not change you then, no? Kumbaga,
Hindi, no. I mean, I knew,
a project was a project, period.
yeah. And so for agents and managers, they always have a very specific percentage. It's part of your contract, okay? So they never ask you lower, they never ask you for more, unless your contract changes. But they knew it was an independent film, and I ended up also co-producing part of the film. So they weren't looking for them to get paid.
When you say co-producing, does that mean maglalabas ka ng money?
Yeah,
So that means you believed in the project.
yeah, I did. Yeah, and also when I came back to the Philippines, it was at least 20 years since the last
How
time.
could you, Clifford, not enjoy El Nido if you were co-producing this whole thing?
I was filming the whole time. The second time I came back, I had more fun. I had a lot more fun.
Okay.
But I also had a very strict regimen. Going
Right.
to school. I
Work
was-
ethic mo talaga eh, di ba?
Yeah. Even now, it can be a bad thing.
It's the same thing. Is your house clean?
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually bought a robot.
Roomba? Yeah. iRobot?
Yeah.
What's its name?
D.
Okay, good.
D-bot.
D-Bot. Mine's Leah.
Oh, see.
Ikaw ba, Mike? You have that? Okay.
I turn her on every 2 hours.
Me, I turn her on, si Leah, in the morning. And then at night naman, I turn my wife on. Shout out to you, Jaja.
Oh my gosh. Okay, there you go.
But sometimes I mix it up.
Well, they can both work at the same time.
Exactly. And then, okay, so, Busong, indie film. Ano ang satisfaction doing an indie film and a full $42 million production film?
It was kind of an awakening, not just a spiritual awakening, but a cultural awakening.
Okay, I like that.
Because I was born in the Philippines. I grew up here. I was mostly American, and I was never Filipino enough for the
Right.
Filipinos.
Right.
And then I come home where everyone looks like me. I can get my shirts without a problem. In my
Yung
size,
size,
everyone understands me except for my English sometimes. And then, the food.
And ang babait din ng tao.
Everyone was really nice. It was so fun to be
Right.
around. And I saw all my cousins and my uncles for the first time in a long time. And that does something to you.
Yeah. All of a
And-
sudden, ngayon parang may origin story ka ngayon. Parang, okay, may identity. There you go. That's the right word.
And part of the character that I played was his name is Aris. He left his homeland of Palawan, went to Manila, and didn't arrive back for until 20 years later.
Okay.
So his story was basically also my story.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a secret. I could talk about it. I can talk to other people. I can explore how they felt about it without giving away anything.
Right, right.
And it felt I think the last night of filming I cried in the shower. And then I cried again when he got back home. It was a lot. It was probably unpacking a lot of my held emotions. For a lot of Filipinos, we hold a lot of
Oh, we do.
emotions. we don't believe in therapy.
Masyado tayo mapagtiis di ba?
Yeah, yeah. And also that's part of our culture.
Yeah.
Something happens that's really bad, you keep going and you smile.
Yes.
And that's so evident in our culture that's why everyone loves it. So that's why it's
Yeah.
more fun in the Philippines.
Yeah.
You can literally not know anyone in the Philippines and have the greatest time
Yeah,
of your life,
I
right?
agree.
And that's also something that my mom taught me, that no matter what happens, you always have to smile, because it doesn't take a lot for you to smile.
Galing, no?
And so I took that with me, and I was super grateful for that experience, and also to help the production get to the farthest that he can with whatever help that I
Yeah.
can for producing. It meant a lot more than just me and my role.
Now, wow. Since we're in the topic of giving back, did it mutate into something else? Like now, are you more in tune with your community here in the States, helping kids follow their dreams?
Right before I left for the Philippines, I met Giselle Tonji.
G.
G became, and I didn't know that. I didn't know that she was a big star in the
She
Philippines.
was. She
right?
still is.
And one of another friend, Mike Carandang, who is a really big producer now in the Philippines. I met them at this. It was called Fil-Am something. It was about Filipinos in entertainment. It was
Okay.
called Pi.
Okay. Pie.
Yeah, Filipinos in entertainment.
Filipinos in...
And we were holding the meeting at our friend's designer place. And I got to meet a bunch of Filipinos in different parts of the entertainment industry, whether it's fashion, TV, film, whether it's here or in the Philippines. And she became a very good friend of mine, one of my probably best friends. She's like a sister to me.
Right.
And Mike Karandang too. He's kind of like a brother to me. Every year there's a Filipino festival, right? Mm-hmm. In a lot of places now, which thankfully
Everywhere.
so I try to partake in doing the festivals and giving back, or I'll teach. I like teaching kids. I like teaching adults as well. And I'm always open to someone who needs help or advice.
That's
When it comes
nice.
to like, what should I be expecting out of this?
Pero you've put in the work kasi. I mean,
Yeah.
And you know what? I think ganun talaga eh. You put in the work. You dedicate your time. You dedicate yourself. You commit. You become consistent. Imposibleng hindi dumating yung result sa buhay mo eh.
Yeah. And it's a lot of work. And you have to think of it as the long run,
Yeah.
right? And a lot of new actors that ask me, how did you get started? How did you get this? How did you book this? I always tell them, look, Acting's very expensive.
Very.
Just your headshots alone. One photo is about $200.
Yep.
And then you got to get it printed, which is another
Yep.
$400.
And indeed,
right?
yes.
And that doesn't count all of your acting stuff where you have to get the paper, you have to do your resume, you have to go to acting classes, you have to go to school, traveling, all your personal bills, and then all the websites that you have to submit to.
So may subscriptions pa yon, di ba? Union dues, mga ganon.
And also the people that are the actors that are non-union don't rush into becoming a union.
Like magkakabaka lang na SAG card and all that
don't,
stuff.
You don't need a SAG card. Not when you're not making money.
Why?
You know?
Tell me why.
It's
Tell
important
us why.
that you build up your resume first because there's a lot of great non-union work.
Okay.
And that involves film.
Now, pag nasa union ka, you cannot charge a lower amount, right?
There's a specific standard for union rates.
Kumbaga, rate plus bahala na depending on...
But also, with being part of a union, you have to pay into the union. And part of what the union does is it protects you during your production. You know, there's specific times that you have to be there for, that they're accountable for. There's specific pay if they go over. And then there's contracts, right? In non-union, it's a lot easier to book. But there's also a lot of great non-union work. You just don't get benefits as you would in the union status, right? But if you're not making a lot of money, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you're getting to do the projects that you want to do, and that's going to look good and be great for your resume. So it's not, you don't go straight to SAG-AFTRA and pay
just for the prestige, exactly, right?
Well, where are you going to get $2,700 to join a union when you're not going to work for a long time?
That's true.
And that's something that you also have to expect, that you're probably not going to work for a long time. And that can be hard on a lot of people. So I try to break down all those things first, that that's the reality of the business. If you're not thinking of this as the long run, you're never ever going to be satisfied, and you are going to leave here hating what you've done. You know, so you can work different things while you're still acting and doing this. That doesn't mean that you need to give up your life, right? But at the end of the day, it's going to be acting for you in the long haul. But if you're thinking about acting right now because you want to see your face in the billboard or on a film because you want to be an Oscar winner, it's just not going to happen. Sorry, dude. You're not the first one to think of that.
Exactly.
And you're not the last one that's going to walk into a room and work for it. You know, and you might be beautiful and you might have the talent, but there's going to be people that are not, that work on it every single day, that are going to beat you because they simply are just better at that. And auditioning is a whole different kind of, you know, monster. You can have a great talent, but suck at auditioning. And auditioning is scary, right?
Of course,
for a lot of people.
yeah.
And sometimes your talent doesn't showcase in the actual audition yourself if you don't know how to audition. That's a whole different skill set.
So that's okay.
Yeah.
Galing, no?
And in commercial, whole different genre too. You got to learn. So it becomes expensive once you start putting all the expenses that you have to pay for in order for you to be a trained actor.
Now, I like that word, trained actor, which means walang alachamba. Everything is may precision.
Yeah.
Method acting. Would you consider yourself such? You're a method actor. So when you were doing Bruno, you were in character the whole time?
I had to be, yeah. There was no way of getting around it. And also it was one of our rules that you have to be, as soon as you're on set, you're in character. There's no breaking it.
Kasi kahit si Sasha never breaks character.
No.
But when you go back to your hotel, you're still in character.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I go back home to no one because I'm by myself. I can talk to everyone. You know, but and for someone, I can imagine a person who books that big role, and it's their first one. It can get pretty lonely because at that point you also won't know who to trust. Right. You don't know which friends are just going to take advantage of you, and that's something real that happens every single day. Right. It's not just in LA. It's not just in Hollywood. It's not just in entertainment. what I'm super thankful for is that I got to grow up here
Yeah.
and I got to see
Nakita mo,
all
yes,
the bullshit.
yes.
And I can read the bullshit
Yes,
far away.
yes.
So that I know how to get straight to the point. And also when I was starting out, when I was with my manager, the first thing I said to him was like, I like it black and white.
Oh, nice. That's nice.
Tell me I don't want the sugarcoat things. I just want to get straight to the point. So if you don't like something, you let me know. If you need me to change something, you let me know. Because I don't want to go back and forth to get around the corner and to the, I don't want to tire myself out. I want to just get straight to the point. And that's a hard skill set too.
Of course.
Right? Because when you are okay with getting straight to the point, that means you have enough thick skin to get all the no's and move on. And that's hard. Entertainment is not for everyone, and that's okay. There's many grateful things out there that you can do and be great at it and be successful, and be fulfilled. But maybe entertainment is also that for you, It's just not going to be for everyone.
Sa industry mo, in your industry, you can't just wing it, no?
No, I mean you probably can, and some people have the talent of like doing it.
But winging it is different than improv.
You can only do it for so long.
Okay.
There's winging it, and then there's looking unprepared, and you can only look unprepared for so many times until everyone knows you're not reliable. Because everyone in casting knows all the productions, all the producers, all the directors, all the writers. They don't want to work with someone who's going to be winging it. It's different for improv, definitely, because in improv you still have a structure. It's either a long game structure or a short game structure, right? But if someone is writing for TV or even for film, and they're very specific to the words, writers spend a lot of time writing, and if you don't get that word right, or that sentence is a whole different sentence from what they wrote, you're almost kind of like, if they see that enough of you and your work, they don't want to work with you.
What's the hierarchy? Who is king? Director is king? No. Writer is king? No. Who is king?
It depends on who's producing.
Really?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, as a producer, you also have a lot to say with how the story is going to move forward, what's more interesting, what's least interesting, and who's going to get the most out of their money, right? Because at the end of the day, if it's a commercial film, the producer is going to tell you, this might work better. Here are some of my ideas or objections. So part of the writing staff either have to rewrite, and part of the director's job is like to get this idea out into the film in a great way. The actor is not the bida. No.
Unless you're Tom Cruise.
Unless you're Tom Cruise and you're probably producing.
Yeah. Why do they do that? Mga ibang actors, why do they end up producing? Like si Adam Sandler, Will Smith, Tom Cruise, why do they have their own production?
What's great about producing is that you get to own your work. You have a lot more say with how you want your film to be, how to be produced, where it's going to go, what kind of audience.
Distribution,
all of that stuff. And also, you worked for your name. Now it's time to enjoy your name and get the films that you want to have out there.
Okay. After Busong, would you go into producing your own films?
Yeah. I do that now.
Yun na talaga.
I more music videos, short films. I haven't done a full feature because I have to put on my writer's hat, and with COVID, it's really hard.
Okay, speaking of writer's hat, you write also? Screenwrite? Like,
I wouldn't say I have a talent for it yet unless someone says you have a talent for it.
no.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I respect writers a lot because it's a whole different talent.
Like what you just said a while ago, di ba? A writer develops a character, nasa index card muna yan.
Oh, yeah.
Di ba? May mga, lalagyan niya ng mga subtext and all that stuff. Tapos biglang, igagawa siya ng ng story ng character and then ibibigay sa'yo and then hindi mo i-interpret ng tama. Bad trip yun, right?
Yeah. I guess I am a writer.
See?
But it's just there's a lot of writers out there that are better, way better than me. I have to actually I'm the kind of person that has to sit down and do it with no one else being there. And
Really?
be focused, yeah.
Wow.
I'm that guy.
So short films.
I have a short film out right now. It's called Willie in the Sky. It was directed, written, and produced also by Nathaniel Siri.
Yeah.
We are now into 17 film festivals.
Nice.
And the film has won at least 6-7 awards. And it's only August, so there's still plenty more. And it deals a lot with the introspect of what depression can be during this time.
Of COVID. How many days you shoot yung Willie in the Sky?
2 days.
2 days lang?
2 days. 2 days.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk technical specs, no?
Yeah.
So you had a brain fart. Oh, I'm gonna produce this film. Did it occur that way?
No.
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 Someone came to you and said,
Yeah.
I want you to produce this film.
Yeah, Nathaniel Siri, the director, said, I have an idea for this film. We talked about it for months. And then he himself also sat down, told himself to write it.
Really?
And within him writing it, he said, okay, Cliff, we're filming it. Get ready tomorrow.
You're acting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I did the voiceover first, and that took a few hours. And then we shot that same day for 2 days. And looking at the film, I guess it can be from any time and place for the character because he lives on his roof. A young professional, you don't know what he does, but it's super relatable because that's at this time of quarantine, when you are going through a depression, it can really take place at any time, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people say it's kind of an experimental film or it's fantastical because there's something special that happens towards the end. I don't want to give it away. You can watch it.
Don't give it away. Where can we watch it?
You can watch it on Nathaniel's website. It's Nathaniel Siri, like the phone, .com, or also on his Vimeo. It might be available on YouTube in one of the festivals.
Yun ang question ko.
Yeah.
Why aren't you exploiting YouTube as a space?
During this time of COVID, I actually had I had to sit down and write all of my business proposals for the future for myself.
Okay.
Right? And part of, again, my acting is for the long run, is how do I get to where I want to go? And YouTube was one of them.
Okay.
And it was to present your talent in a space where people are going to be watching.
Right.
YouTube in itself is a whole different
It's a different beast,
monster.
no? Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm going through different genres of what the content that I want to produce would be.
So, is it safe to say you're wearing more of your producer hat?
Oh yeah, I love producing.
Mukha nga eh, no?
Yeah, I love producing, and it allows me to act when I produce. When I don't want to be in the acting role, it's great for me to.
You're
coach.
still involved,
Yeah.
diba?
Yeah.
Now, is it safe to say, using the backup singer backup dancer analogy, is it safe to say, dito comfortable ka to take the back seat?
Yeah. Yeah. I enjoy that actually because it gives me a whole different point of view of what a director sees, what production sees, and the intricacies of that machine,
Right.
of what this does and why it's important to speak in a different way or enunciate.
Yes.
Right? And why it's important to feel it from here because whatever words come out, You turn off the face, you hear it from the voice,
yeah.
right? And it makes me appreciate the art a lot more. Yeah.
So you have your own gear na rin.
Oh my gosh, half of my house is
gear.
So that's why I also gave away 8 bags of clothes to fit all the gear in all the closets.
Oh my God.
So it helped me free some stuff that no longer makes me happy, right? And give it to people that will benefit from it, and it allows for new things that will help fulfill me.
Yeah. Other Filipino-American actors like sina Abe Pagtama, sina Dante Basco.
Yeah, Abe, I know.
Yeah,
I know Dante too.
So itong mga to, do you guys meet and talk and are we gonna do something for the community and all that stuff?
You know, we used to.
Wala ba kayong fraternity na?
We did in the pie.
The pie, okay.
The Filipinos in entertainment.
Yeah.
There's other ones that are similar to it. But we basically hold gatherings once a year and get together as a group. But you know, sometimes we see each other in auditions and we talk to each other. We catch up. I did PPP, which is it was the first Filipino sketch show on Channel 18 that was with G.
Yeah.
And a bunch of actors, and one of them was Abe.
Funny guy.
And Gabe Valenciano was also one of them.
Really?
One of the first episodes.
So talented, that guy, no?
Yeah. And a lot of other Filipinos that are current acting in the U.S. So yeah, we do get to work together, but not in that sense where like we call each other. We should,
Diba?
we
Parang-
should, you know. But one of the things that I'm also learning about the film industry and to really get in there is that you have to find a way to tell the Filipino story in American way.
Right.
Right? Because sometimes when you have too strict of a Filipino story with an all Filipino cast, it almost
glazes over other people. No?
Yeah, and it can alienate a potential audience that could be interested in that. So finding a way to infiltrate American culture with your Filipino-ness.
Right.
You know,
what's that movie? No, go ahead with your. I don't want to break your train of thought.
Fresh Off the Boat did that really well, diba?
Yeah.
But it was because it was Chinese Asian culture in the American life, right? And they bought that because it wasn't just all Asians;
Yes.
it was Americans.
Assimilations
essentially.
of ipag-assimilate ng
Exactly.
Asians. Yung ano yung movie na ano? Ha? Hindi, nandun pa si Chris Aquino eh. Lumabas pa siya.
Oh yeah, Crazy Rich
Crazy
Asians.
Rich Asian.
Yeah.
Yun.
That was
Diba?
great. That was a great film.
Yun, that's one way of telling the story.
Yeah, and the great thing about that film is it involved a lot of other Asians.
Yes.
Right? So a lot of Asian cultures were open to seeing the show and supporting it. It wasn't just one specific thing.
Yeah.
But, you know, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon was also amazing visually and the storyline. And you don't care what culture it was, right?
Ip Man. Ako gusto ko yun. So Philippine movies, have they tapped into you? Have you tapped into them?
I have not. I had a chance to when I went back to the Philippines. But a lot of them told me, you have to be here for at least 3 months.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not living in the Philippines for 3 months. Not because I don't want to, but
You have commitments here.
Commitments in here. And I have a lot of people that call me for auditions and stuff. So it's a lot harder to manage. And I can't fly back and forth.
Why not?
That's too crazy. That's a 14, 15-hour flight.
Don't you have your own private
And then you have jet lag. I wish.
One day. One day.
Yeah.
Wag mo kami kakalimutan.
But you know what? To be in a private plane is kind of scary.
Tell me that experience.
It's like being in a helicopter. You know?
Tell me that
When you
experience.
go down, you go down. You go down by yourself.
Halatang hindi pa nakakasaya ng helicopter at private plane. No? Tell me the experience.
It's like, when you get a bucket of chicken, if you eat it by yourself, it's scary because you're going to eat it all.
Right.
As opposed to sharing it with everyone, you're going to get a heart attack.
Oh my God. So,
Oh my God. My dad would say that too.
okay, eto na ngayon. After pandemic, Cliff, what can we expect of you? Without breaking any NDAs, huh?
That I won't. The great thing that the pandemic has taught a lot of people is to search for themselves inside. And one of the things that I committed myself to working on more is to write, produce my own films. So this year I want to come out with a feature, and I have already a few things in it.
Feature like an hour, 45 minutes, full feature. Wow.
Yeah. But I'm not going to do it alone. I have a lot of talented friends. I have a lot of musician friends, and they're very easy to tap into for inspiration. So,
galing.
Well, we'll get there. The galing is to work for.
Talaga? Feeling mo hindi pa rin?
Hindi pa rin, no?
Like you've been too hard on yourself ever since you were a young boy. Tapos hanggang ngayon?
Yeah. It's like, you know Apollo Ono?
Yeah.
He's a friend of mine. It's like, he didn't stop at one gold medal, right? You keep going until...
Yes.
And right now he travels the world, and he speaks to a lot of young people and others to inspire them. So hopefully the rest of my career and my life would be inspiring through film, whether I'm in front of the camera or behind, and also cultivating new talent.
Kami naman, when we found out that you were gonna come on the show, we were really honored and excited, no? So, shout out then kay Elgin.
Salamat, Elgin.
Thank you, Elgin. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, JJ.
Thanks, Michael, JJ.
Because like like when we had Martin Rivera here that one time, I personally told Martin that it's nice that you're here.
Yeah.
Not expecting you. Sabi namin sa kanya. Sabi nga niya, why am I even here? But him being here validated all the guests that have been and all the guests that will be. And that's how I see you also being here at Pacos Place.
Oh, salamat.
Di ba parang, thank you. Kinikilabutan. Goosebumps. So ayan, no? If you're able to spend the time to be here, thank you talaga.
It's, I learned really young that when someone gives you something, if someone gives you an opportunity, this is what Mike Karandang taught me. If someone gives you an opportunity, you never turn it down. Whether it goes bad or good or whatever, you never turn down an opportunity because you never know where it's going to take you.
Correct.
And me being able to give back gives someone else an opportunity.
Yeah.
And you don't know where that's going to go.
Exactly. Thanks, Clifford.
So I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for Paco's Place. I'm thankful for you guys.
Thank you. Likewise, you have our support. Ano ba ang pwedeng asahan namin maliban sa pagpoproduce mo and all that stuff? Are we going to see you on YouTube more often?
Well, now I got to start a real channel because now you signed me up and I can't go back now.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Clifford Banagale.
Salamat.
Thank you, guys.
Well, now I really do got to start that fucking channel.
That's what I wanted to talk to you about. Dahil nire-research ko lahat eh.